knew my sleep was bad, but I just didn't think it was such an issue, and also the undereating of carbohydrates, etc. So I think an outside perspective is actually very beneficial. And although during midpoint of the time I didn't utilize it, I think it made me aware. So now going forward, I actually know those issues were actually very detrimental to my own training and mental health. So I think it is good to get an outside perspective from someone who actually knows what they're talking about.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Wise Nutrition Podcast. My goal here is to help you fuel your body properly so you can lose excess weight, improve your performance, and all that without obsessing about food and falling for diet fads. If you also want to figure out what to eat, how much to eat, so you can get into your best shape while maximizing your energy, apply for personal nutrition pink at danweiss.eu/apply. That is danweiss.eu/apply. Or, click the link down in the description. Alex, one of my former clients, shares with you today how she improved her sleep and relationship with food, and how she got stronger mentally and physically by doing less. Alex originally came to me with the weight loss goals just before the COVID quarantine happened, and we discovered she had a negative relationship with food and with exercise, and that prevented her from improving her lifts and losing fat. Today I'm catching up with her 3 months after we concluded our work together. For anybody that's listening, this is Alex, and we worked together for like 2-3 months before, or actually also during the COVID. And yeah, I think we started working, probably it was 2 months before that.
Yeah, I think just before COVID, and then as COVID started, when we went into lockdown over here in the UK.
Yeah, there was lockdown everywhere and it was tough times, but hopefully things are getting better. But I think that this plays an important part in your journey, as well as in the journey of many people out there who are trying to lose weight or to improve their health. Or basically for anybody. We all had some plans, and suddenly this thing happened and everything turned upside down.
Yes, definitely. I think especially when lockdown happened over here, I'm sure it's the same in other countries as well. I could see a massive change in my own mental health and with others, family, friends, colleagues. It just had a massive impact. I mean, some people managed to utilize it to their own strength, but for me, I didn't. I ended up not coping very well with it. So that affected my results in which I wanted to attain on my fitness and weight loss journey. So, but it's getting better now.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and we will definitely speak about that. But just before we dive deep into that, I would like you to introduce yourself. Like, who are you? You are like female. You are very active compared to many people. I think you love to move. You also study, so you have a lot of things going on, right? And on top of that, you are also a personal trainer.
Yeah, so I'm in my final year of my undergraduate degree doing sport and exercise science. So I've been doing my dissertation over the summer. Yeah, I'm a personal trainer for my job role. I compete in strength sports, so I'm currently training for a strongwoman competition, which is at the beginning of November. Yeah, so that's it really. All things sports and exercise science is my life.
Yeah, and that's actually exactly the kind of person that I really love to work with. But before we started working together, how would you describe yourself in regards to your movement, or how active were you? What were you struggling with? And why were you actually looking for some assistance?
Yeah, so before we started working together, I've always been active, like training. In fact, overtraining was a big issue. So training, like, has never been a problem in the fact of I've always trained. It's been a problem in the fact of overtraining, but it was the nutrition aspect which I wanted help with because being vegan for a couple of years, I still didn't feel like I had enough knowledge to be able to get a broad spectrum of nutrients into my diet and eating the correct type of foods to fuel my training efficiently. So, and I always felt tired. My sleep was really bad. Um, but it wasn't as bad as what it was until lockdown and COVID hit. But I still felt like at that point in time when I spoke to you that I wanted some help because I needed some tweaks to my diet. I thought, first of all, I wanted to lose weight. And it was just, I thought it was going to be just a matter of you giving me a nutrition plan and me following that. But I come to realise it was actually more than that. And you did help with by addressing a lot of issues which I didn't even realise. So, yeah, it was different to what I thought it was, but it helped primarily in the long run.
So, what do you think helped you the most? Like, or what were your key takeaways?
So the thing that I learnt most from you was when you reinforced about my sleep. So I think checking in with you weekly and speaking about my sleep was a massive indicator, like made me realise how bad my sleep actually was. And also the carbohydrates, that I wasn't eating enough. So you reinforcing that to me as well, that I weren't eating enough of certain food groups. Although at the time, because I got to a point where I wasn't in a good mental state, I didn't really take on board what you were saying. Like, utilising now what you've said, like, I can see that I was under eating on certain days and then binge eating on some days. So definitely sleep, and also how I was feeling. So how certain foods made me feel was a massive thing, which I never thought of looking at before. So yeah, definitely those aspects were the most important things that I noticed.
And I'm very happy that you also mentioned these things, like the mental side of eating, because this is the most typical issue what like majority of people deal with, right? Like emotional eating and so on. And just thinking back about your diet and in context of macronutrient split, I remember that you didn't seem to have a problem with actually your protein intake. It was pretty high, and it was actually the carbohydrates that were like very low. So maybe do you think you had like a fear of carbohydrates, or what was it?
Yes, I think so. I don't know. It's like I've always found it easy to get protein. That's what I've had ingrained into me, like from doing strength sports for so long. So that wasn't a problem. But yeah, I think when it comes to carbohydrates, I think because it's been demonized so much, and the thing is, obviously I study this at uni, so I know that it's good. But for some reason in my own head and my own irrational thoughts, yeah, I somehow thought more carbohydrates would lead to increased fat mass, when I know that's not true. It's increased energy intake that leads to increased fat mass. So it was just irrational thoughts. And I think just because I was in a really low place of self-worth, I was just so scared of getting fat, which is weird because it doesn't make you fat. So definitely.
And then when did you start actually increasing carbohydrates like more routinely? Because we started with some pre-workout shakes. You I think started feeling better, and your performance started also improving. And I think this was just the start of the whole journey.
Yeah, so definitely, I found it hard at first with the recommendations you suggested, because I had those old belief patterns. It was hard, but then I started to, and yes, I started feeling better. So it started increasing then, and then obviously I started feeling really good, and then the whole COVID thing happened, and then my mental health declined. So sort of reverted back to old habits and just feeling crap and just getting worse. And then it's probably only been like the last couple of months that I've started feeling a lot better, that I've done that and my training's improved. So yeah, it's been a bit of up and down.
Yes, definitely. And I think we can use that opportunity because you said that you never found actually getting enough protein on a vegan diet to be a problem or issue, and many people actually struggle with that. So can you provide maybe some tips how to get more protein on a vegan diet?
Yeah, so I do use protein powder. So for one of my meals, I'll have like baked oats with berries and stuff, but I'll put a scoop of protein powder in it. I enjoy eating tofu now that I can actually cook it properly. So before I didn't really know how to cook it, so I didn't enjoy it. But now I've found a way to utilize different flavors and etc. So tofu's good. Various lentils and legumes I'll eat in like certain chilies or stews, especially now it's autumn over here. So that's a good way to get it in. Nuts and seeds, definitely, although the protein content in them is a bit lower, but still it's a good source of fat as well. So I think having a variety of different things in your diet helps. So I think I got a bit stagnant in what I was eating. So now I've been exploring new recipes and trying to enjoy what I eat instead of just eating for the sake of it. I'm actually enjoying different recipes from different food types. So like Mexican food, different Italian food. So just exploring different varieties at the minute as well.
Well, that's a great job, I would say, like exploring the variety and actually enjoying food. That's like I think a big goal for many people.
Yes, definitely.
So
And
so
also, sorry, also eating for enjoyment instead of, I was getting to the point where I was training just to eat. So I wasn't enjoying it, but I knew I had to eat for my training, but I wasn't doing it in a efficient way. So it was like punishment. And I think that's a big thing as well.
yeah, it definitely is. It is for many athletes, women and men, but I think that the society perpetuates this belief like you need to eat less, especially if you are a female, and it's not creating a good relationship with food, and that's probably also why you had a problem with carbohydrates, like you mentioned. You know that it is good for you, you know it logically, but there is some internal resistance, and this is being reinforced from social media, and you can hear it like from different areas, from different sources, like no, avoid carbohydrates, or only have carbohydrates after you trained because then you deserve them after a hard training, but not anytime any other time.
Yes, exactly. I fully agree. It's definitely a big thing on social media, I think, like conflicting information and just different viewpoints. But and the thing is, a lot of it's not actually scientifically based, like factual. And then when it's repeated information, it becomes ingrained in your I don't know, in your psyche as such. So then like it is a massive thing, and it does make you feel bad. So I was feeling like constantly feeling bad, which obviously had a knock on effect as well. And I don't think you should be made to feel like that with food. It shouldn't be an enemy, like it's good. So it's definitely a learning curve, and I think choosing what content you look at definitely helps as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Actually, right now I'm creating a course specifically for that kind of person, and that's one of the things that I want to include. Like, first, unfollow all the pages on Instagram that are not like maybe scientifically based and that create more anxiety in you than the good.
Yes, that'll be really good. I think that'll be a massive help towards people. Like I've come off Facebook now and just stuck to Instagram, and I follow only certain people that I know come from a scientific background, and I think that has been a massive thing that has improved my mental health as well.
What do you think were like the biggest, uh, what was the biggest help for you when it comes to your mental health and changing your perspective?
I think it was, so where I work, the guy that runs the gym, he sort of said to me like, look, you need to sort out some aspects of your life to feel better. So I think him having a stern word with me and like sort of saying to me, come on now, sort yourself out, was a massive starting point. So I just thought, I'm fed up of feeling like this. What I'm doing isn't working. Obviously, certain things that was working for me before, I then stopped doing. So I thought, go back to what was working for me, start implementing strategies to improve my mental health, such as coming off of social media, just taking it back to basics, like especially making sure that my sleep was good. So I'm sleeping a lot better now, which has improved my mental health, and reducing my training volume as well. Like, so not using it as punishment, using it for physiological changes, as opposed to just absolutely killing myself. And then that was ruining my sleep. That was provoking anxiety and making me feel depressed. So there's multiple factors I think that can be utilised to help improve everything. It's not just one main thing, but small different things that create a bigger balance.
Most certainly. I really think that, especially in your case, the exercise was a big part of that and in improving your sleep.
Yeah, so definitely, I think my sleep, I was waking up multiple times throughout the evening. It was taking me ages to get to sleep, and it was just really poor sleep hygiene. And I just trying to function on such minimal sleep, and then training in excess, like 2.5 hours of strength training a day, and however much cardio I'd fit in as well. Like I just wasn't recovering, increasing risk of injury. In fact, I was getting injured more. I was feeling rubbish, and now I've reduced my training volume and increased my sleep hygiene. My everything has started improving a lot more now. So definitely been a learning curve.
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem is that when we are in that situation, like you were before, right? When you are in that situation in the trenches, you don't really realize it. And we only realize those things when we look back. Then we can actually analyze them and compare it to some other things like, oh, I thought that I was feeling okay or I was doing okay, but I was not. So that's like a funny thing, and I think like your coach from the gym that you mentioned, that he pointed out those things to you, and that led you to reducing your training load. That was like really very helpful. So can you maybe compare for listeners like this is how much you trained before and this is how you changed it?
Yeah, so before, because I do various strength sports, my training would be like, if I'm, because I weren't in comp prep, I was just doing a mixture of strength training. So I'd do like the main compound movements for powerlifting, and I'd add in some strong woman training just for some different movement patterns. But also as well, I'd add in the generic type of bodybuilding training, so high reps as well. And I think the whole strength session would last, I'd be in there for like a good 2 hours, sometimes longer, but to the point of absolute fatigue. And if I felt like I weren't feeling it to the point of exhaustion, I'd feel like I wasn't doing enough. So I'd just constantly push myself, and it just wasn't enjoyable anymore. And the whole reason why I started strength training was because I enjoyed it. So it took out any type of fun from it. Like the injury ratio like massively increased. Like my knee was forever playing up from an old existing injury. So that was previously just doing far too many reps, far too heavy, like without any actual real structure implemented. Just anything to exhaustion was my goal, really. And then now I'm on like a specific training program. So a few of us coaches from the gym have started doing it as like an experimental training program. So I use some of the strong woman lifts that I'm doing in my competition into my training, but not to the point of failure. I'll do it up to the competition weight that I need to, and then just try and improve on my times on it. So just improve my endurance. So I'm not going heavier than what I need to do. I'm just literally doing sport specific. And then in the actual strength training program itself, we're just focusing on 5 compound lifts. And we started off light, and then we work up each week, increasing it slightly heavier. But the reps are really minimal per lift. Like it can be up to 7 reps per lift, but it can be a lot less. So we go on how we feel for that day. So if I'm a bit more fatigued, I'll drop the volume down. If I have more energy because I've slept better or because I've eaten more the day before, I'll increase the reps. But it will still be, my training session will still only be anywhere between 20 minutes to an hour at the most. Sometimes if I add in my strong woman training, it will be just over an hour. So a lot less, and the recovery has been a lot better as well.
Yeah, thank you. That's an excellent, and it actually also reminds me like why I got into running, for example, because I enjoyed running, but I also had that mindset like the more the better, and I started getting injured, and it was only like after I stopped pushing myself in that way, like getting more and more junk volume, that I started enjoying running again and making progress. So yeah, sometimes taking a step back is actually the step forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think to be fair, it took for me to reach feeling pretty low, like rock bottom, for me to actually see that I was doing more harm than good. So I am effectively grateful that I did experience feeling like that, to be able to now see an actual improvement in my training. So I just think, to be fair, I could have done some steps in order to prevent that, but it did take for me to reach that point to sort myself out, really.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that thanks to this kind of situation, you became a better personal trainer yourself. You would probably have more compassion towards people who go through the same, and you are better able to handle these kind of situations.
Yeah, so definitely. So I don't just do personal training. We've run like an 8-week program for clients where it's training and just like nutritional advice. So generally it is those that they're not athletes, they just generally come from like a sedentary background. So more so dealing with a population that don't have any type of nutritional awareness. So I do see, I am a lot more compassionate now, because a lot of them actually do struggle with the same of not being able to communicate efficiently how they feel, like not being able to make the changes because there is some sort of internal struggle. So whereas before, say, sometimes I'd feel a bit frustrated with them, I can now actually see like, no, like I've been through this, I know how it feels. And when someone feels like that, it is actually hard to make changes. So I think it definitely helped to improve me as a person as well. So yeah.
So for anybody who would be maybe interested in joining your group or coaching, like where can they find you?
So, well, I've deleted Facebook now, haven't I? On Instagram, I don't know what my account is. I'll have a look quickly. I think so my Instagram, I'm just literally Alexandra Munns.
I will put
So
it into show notes, so it will be linked there for anybody who wants to reach it.
yeah, brilliant, thank you. But I must say, you have been at the time, I think I wasn't in a place mentally to take on board all what you were saying when it reached that point of where I started feeling psychologically in a bad place. But now I'm in a much better place. Like looking back and utilising the notes that you'd given me and stuff has been a massive help towards carrying forward in my journey now as well.
Oh, really, thank you for that share. And, as with any kind of development, I think that there needs to be some time and space. There is the right time for the right information. And I'm really happy that you actually use that information and utilize it even after we stopped working together, and that it allows you to make progress, because some people, they just get information and maybe it's not exactly the right time for them, but then they don't get back to that information.
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like I think working with you actually did highlight to me the issues that I was having. Like I knew my sleep was bad, but I just didn't think it was such an issue, and also the undereating of carbohydrates, etc. So I think an outside perspective is actually very beneficial. And although during midpoint of the time I didn't utilise it, I think it made me aware. So now going forward, I actually know those issues were actually very detrimental to my own training and mental health. So I think it is good to get an outside perspective from someone who actually knows what they're talking about, and you do know what you're talking about. So I am very grateful for that.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful for having an opportunity to speak with you today and to actually stay in touch with you and to work with people just like you.
Yes, thank you. It was really good to speak to you, and it is good to still carry on with our chats and stuff. So
So thank you, and for everybody who is listening, who wants to reach out to Alex, the links how to get to her will be in the description down below. And thank you for your time. I really appreciate
thank you.
it.
Brilliant, thank you. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you for listening. As always, you will find all the important links, notes, timestamps in the description and on the podcast page on my website at danwise.eu. If you like this episode and this podcast, don't forget to leave a rating and a review. Besides sharing, it is the best way how to spread the word and bring new, interesting guests, topics, which will help you lead a healthy and fulfilled life. You can also support me and show appreciation for what I do via Patreon page. Link is in the description. You can post your comments and ask questions by emailing me to questions@danwise.eu. Once again, the link is in the description. I wish you a healthy and productive day.